View, Jim Carrey is Matthew Broderick's best friend and worst enemy, the cable guy. Liv Tyler searches for the key to her past in Stealing Beauty, and Morgan Freeman stakes his future on orphan Robin Wright in Moll Flanders.
Maybe I'll take you up to the satellite sometime, show you how this whole thing works.
Sure. We should do that one day.
How about tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Tomorrow's no good.
Jim Carrey plays your worst nightmare, the cable TV installer who just won't leave in The Cable Guy. One of 6 new summer movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, including a new film with Robin Wright from Forrest Gump and such provocative summertime silliness titles as Switchblade Sisters and Sergeant Kabukiman N.Y.P.D. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Jim Carrey is the hottest comedian in the movies right now, and a lot of people are looking forward to big laughs from his new film named The Cable Guy. But boy, are they in for a surprise. Carrey is one of the most likable actors in the movies, but The Cable Guy makes him into a pathological basket case who is more creepy and depressing than funny. The film starts out like a comedy, with Carrey playing a cable technician who installs the new service for a forlorn guy played by Matthew Broderick, whose girlfriend has just dumped him.
By the way, you might want to put on a bathing suit, because you'll be channel surfing in no time.
Now that's funny. But then Carrey descends steadily into personality hell until the cable guy seems less like Ace Ventura than like Rupert Pupkin, the celebrity stalker played by Robert De Niro in The King of Comedy.
Hi. Is there a problem with your service?
Yeah, my cable is out.
Really?
It turns out the cable guy desperately, obsessively wants a friend, and he thinks he has found one.
I knew you'd like this place. I come here twice a week.
Welcome to medieval times. I'll be your serving wench, Melinda. Might I fetch you something from the barkeep?
Dost have thou a mug of ale for me and me mate? He has been pitched in battle for a...
And he turns up everywhere, including Broderick's apartment for an impromptu karaoke party.
1, 2, 3!
When the truth is found to be light, and
eventually, the cable guy gets Broderick thrown into jail for receiving stolen property and, of course, visits him there. I don't think this scene works at all.
Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't do this to you. You did this to you.
You set me up.
No, I taught you a lesson.
This is a seriously disturbed human being, and not in the funny ways that Ace Ventura was disturbed. Another problem is that the Matthew Broderick character is too much of a victim and not enough of an antagonist. Watching him, I kept thinking of the Dunk the Clown booth at a carnival. He takes so many shots from the cable guy that after a while, it's just not funny anymore.
Well, Roger, I thought it was very, very funny until the third act, maybe. But you've left out some of the biggest laughs in the film, and that is, for example, when, again, he does desperately want this friend, and so he'll take him to the cable company's dish to take a look at that for an early morning sort of breakfast. Jim Carrey has the ability to skewer most everything in popular culture just by laughing at it, and I think that there are huge laughs in The Cable Guy.
Well, I think the medieval restaurant thing was kind of inspired by Pulp Fiction in a way. It's a twist on that. It had a couple of funny moments in it, but basically what happens is that increasingly throughout the movie, this cable guy gets to be more and more and more of an abrasive, unhappy element.
I don't know whether you can have it both ways. First of all, there are funny elements in Martin Scorsese's King of Comedy. It's a compliment to compare it to that film. And the other thing I would say is that we dump on Ace Ventura for being, you know, light as a feather. Well, this film is a little bit more serious, I suppose, and you can't have it both ways. I think this is a very good film, his best since The Mask. Okay, next movie, and our next film is Stealing Beauty from the world-class filmmaker Bernardo Bertolucci, the director of such epics as Last Tango in Paris and The Last Emperor. Unlike his previous work, Stealing Beauty is a modest effort about a 19-year-old American girl who comes to Italy following her mother's death, looking for romance as well as the true identity of her father. The hot young actress Liv Tyler plays the innocent virgin who immediately excites everyone living at a Tuscan villa, including a yuppie lawyer who would like to steal more than her beauty.
Now, touch your tongue to my tongue for the ultimate connection.
Lucy, I was just wondering... Oh, Richard.
Hi, sweetie.
What's going on?
Well, we were just, you know... Wait, Miranda?
More significant is the nurturing relationship she develops with another house guest, a dying writer played by Jeremy Irons. The point of the film, physical beauty does have a very real power, maybe even a healing power.
Well, look who's up and about.
I had a great night.
You met Lucy.
Oh, she's irresistible.
Eventually, the Liv Tyler character decides to lose her virginity, and it's a poignant moment as she confides in someone whose life is ending.
So I brought someone back.
Yeah, I heard. Who's the lucky fella?
Guy from the party.
Uh-huh. Italian?
English, actually.
Oh, English. So, good. Well, I'm proud to be nearby at such an auspicious moment.
Stealing Beauty does not have the political or emotional gravity we associate with a film by Bernardo Bertolucci, and the dramatic conceit of placing a fresh face amid tired ones isn't groundbreaking either. And yet, I wasn't bored by Stealing Beauty. I noticed the Tuscan landscape as well as the beauty of Liv Tyler, and I felt a personal desire to steal some of that beauty myself. I felt the appeal of a physical landscape, I guess, as well as a sweet soul. Thumbs down for me on this picture, but it's clearly a mixed review on Stealing Beauty.
My thumb is down too, and I guess it's probably down a little bit further than yours, because one of the problems I had with the movie is that Bertolucci and his screenwriter obviously were not interested in making this character played by Liv Tyler into a very complex and intelligent human being. She is seen...
She's a creature of the 90s.
She's not a creature of the 90s. She's a dumb broad. She comes into this picture and is used entirely as an object. No one in the movie seems to be able to relate to her at all, except for Jeremy Irons, except on the basis of her appearance. Right. And you got
that might be more their problem than hers.
This is a woman who is 19 years old, who has been raised in a bohemian atmosphere of some sort and has no conversation. She has nothing of interest to say. And so, as a result, why are we interested in looking at her? Except we can see a photograph of her in a magazine, and that would be the same idea.
I think you can be critical of those people rather than being critical of her. That's the way they choose to engage her, Roger, if you think about it for a second.
Her, though?
I also
believe the way she chooses
I believe
to be
that Jeremy Irons...
If they'd written this movie with any interest at all in who that person was, we would have found out more about her.
It would have been a better movie, maybe, if we got to know her at some level. But I think this movie is making a statement about how people look at a certain level of beauty, and that's where it all stops.
Well, that is a sophisticated justification for a flaw in the film.
Thank you. When we come back, Robin Wright plays an 18th century woman of the streets in Moll Flanders.
Don't you understand? I'm going to fail you.
I'm instructed by a wealthy benefactor to offer you the chance to accompany me. In return for your board and keep, I am to read you this. The first-hand memoirs of your mother.
A mysterious stranger, played by Morgan Freeman, rescues a little girl from an orphanage and takes her on a long journey in Moll Flanders, a new movie based loosely, very loosely, on the 18th century novel by Daniel Defoe. As the journey continues, Freeman reads to the girl from a journal compiled by her mother, and in flashbacks, we see the events she describes, as in this scene where Moll Flanders has no money and no place to live and falls under the influence of a madam played by Stockard Channing. That's Robin Wright from Forrest Gump in the title role.
What's your nature?
I'm learning to have a very fair manner.
Learning?
It seems to be a necessity if one is to succeed.
At first, Moll is only a servant. Then she makes the fateful decision to auction off her virtue.
100 guineas is a done thing. Oh, bravo, bravo.
Her life as a prostitute turns her to drinking, and one night she meets a painter who wants to hire her only as his model. He's played by John Lynch, and he gives her some of the first good days of her entire life.
I know who I am and what I've been, and so does your son. I just thought maybe there'd be some chance I'd fit into your family. That would have made me the proudest living thing. But no one can separate me from this man.
Moll Flanders tells the story of a woman who came up the hard way in a hard society, and it doesn't try to make it all into a pretty picture. The end of the movie is a little melodramatic and unlikely, but then that's in the nature of stories like this. Moll Flanders made me care about this woman and about what happened to her.
I didn't like the picture at all, Roger, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it held no surprises for me. I thought this was all standard stuff, which is she's plucky, she's abused, and she survives. And you see that theme repeatedly throughout, almost like clockwork. This film is ticking off its scenes. Within individual scenes, I knew exactly where the action was going to go. And let me go then again at Robin Wright and say that I had liked her very much as Jenny in Forrest Gump, but here I thought she was too old, frankly. She looked in her low 30s in this picture to me, too old for Moll Flanders, and also I felt she was very contemporary, and I could get even more detailed and say that the painting by the painter that she meets are really bad paintings, and they look like contemporary paintings. I thought this was a flawed film all the way straight through.
The character played by John Lynch is a very interesting character, the artist. And the visit to his family
Roger,
is very
had you been
handled.
through all these scenes before, you know, which did you like better, just out of curiosity? Jane Eyre just came out a couple of weeks ago with Charlotte Gainsbourg and William Hurt. Which do you think
I like Jane Eyre better,
Me
and
too.
I also liked Restoration better.
Yes.
But I like this one too.
Gee, I just don't see anything to like about it at all. When we come back, a summertime exploitation double bill of two loopy titles. Get this, Sergeant Kabukiman N.Y.P.D. and Switchblade Sisters.
Kabukiman-san Joel.
It's summertime, and that means time for drive-in style exploitation films, and I'm going to review two in a row. Both would-be camp items. And let's start with, how about this title? Sergeant Kabukiman N.Y.P.D. And I wish the movie were as amusing as the title, but it's not. It follows the adventures of an American cop who is transformed into an Asian crime-fighting machine. That's Rick Gianassi as Sergeant Kabukiman, and he's a reluctant superhero. That's one of the gags in the movie, even when he's around an Asian woman who has been training him for his ultimate test against the evil one.
Clearly you have no comprehension of the scope of your mission. The evil one never sleeps. You must be ready for an attack at any time.
Sergeant Kabukiman N.Y.P.D. is a cheap production without many laughs or much real wit. I think I like the idea of it more than the reality. Same can be said for a better, much better, campier movie, Switchblade Sisters, a 1975 girl gang exploitation picture that has attracted the attention of cult film director Quentin Tarantino, and thanks to him is now being revived around the country.
Give me the gun!
Don't waste your time, baby. She's not worth it.
Later, the girls joined forces to combat a male gang that is ripping off the community.
You girls know what a Jezebel is? I found it the other day in the dictionary. It says, an immoral, shameless, impudent woman. And from now on, that's going to be us, the Jezebel.
Switchblade Sisters starts out like a lot of fun. Some of the dialogue is quite arch and intentionally so and very funny, and I was enjoying it as a cultural artifact from the low-budget 70s exploitation genre, but then it got very old in its third act, and I didn't care a bit about the story. In other words, a few minutes, maybe a half an hour with Switchblade Sisters is all you really need to have a good time.
Well, we're kind of comparing apples and oranges here, but I like Kabukiman better than Switchblade Sisters. I'm going to start with Switchblade Sisters and just say that seeing this film 20 years after it was made was a real shock for me because it reveals how much better young directors and young writers and young actors are today with low-budget movies than they were 20 years ago. This movie is amateur night.
Well,
it's badly photographed, it's badly written, and frankly, it's very badly acted, too. And when you see now the new movies that are coming up through the Sundance Film Festival, for example, you see a much higher level of professionalism.
Except that I don't think that that was a young filmmaker starting out in his career.
Well, then that's even sadder than
okay. But you really enjoyed Sergeant Kabukiman?
I liked it, but there was more to look at. It was more, it tried harder, it had more variety. I mean, Switchblade Sisters is by the numbers.
Would you actually...
It's an exploitation gang picture.
Okay, let's go to this. Yeah. Would you actually recommend, are you giving thumbs up to Sergeant Kabukiman?
No, I'm not giving thumbs up to either one, but I'm recommending Sergeant Kabukiman as the choice between these two films.
I was just about to check your pulse. I knew that it was 2 thumbs down. When we come back, a new movie version of perhaps the most popular opera of all time, Madame Butterfly. Best
loved of all operas, even though on the stage it's rare to find a soprano who can convincingly play its 15-year-old heroine. A new film version of Butterfly has discovered a 27-year-old Chinese singer who may not look 15 but does look convincing in the role of a young woman who marries a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy and believes his promise that he will someday return to her. Ying Wang plays Butterfly, and Lieutenant Pinkerton is played by Richard Troxell. Butterfly has been disowned by her family for marrying the outsider. Other women may have done that for money, but she has done it for love and naively believes Pinkerton's promises. Pinkerton returns to America, and Butterfly, who is pregnant, waits for his return, and waits and waits. Two things always bother me about this opera. One is that Pinkerton does seem to really care for her, so why does he treat her so badly? And the second one is, why does he bring his American wife to Butterfly's home to increase the pain she feels? Of course, there is total disregard for Butterfly's feelings in the plans to take away her baby and give it to the real wife. None of these questions have answers, at least not in Puccini's opera, which is one reason Madame Butterfly has such a deep appeal, I suppose, because we still care urgently about these things. The film version was directed by Frédéric Mitterrand, nephew of the late French president, and it's lush and sweet and very moving.
And also, for an opera, quiet in many regards. When there are sequences when we see shots of the water, of statuary near the water, and I like that quiet with this picture so that we can contemplate some of the questions that you're raising. Of course, this film is to be appreciated for the soundtrack, but I also thought that the characters, the actors selected here, did a very good job.
She does do a good job. Now, as far as her voice is concerned, Ying Wang herself says she doesn't have the voice to do this role on the stage. Her voice isn't big enough. But for film and working in a recording studio, she was able to rise to the occasion, and she has the right look. And in a movie, in a way, because you have those close-ups, you really almost have to go with the actors rather than with the voice.
Absolutely think so, except that there are Laserdiscs available of Madame Butterfly of stage productions if you want to see it, so you do have both alternatives.
Yes, you do.
Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a film with Paul Newman that keeps getting better and better each time I see it.
You betcha.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn, the best part of the movies.
Now it's time for our video pick of the week, and my choice this week and on our Father's Day is Nobody's Fool. I had an experience like this once before with a Paul Newman movie, Slapshot. I had mixed feelings about it the first time I saw it, but I've liked it more each time I've seen it. The same thing with Nobody's Fool, which I've now seen 3 times, where we meet Paul Newman as a 60-year-old guy who is yet to grow up. And this is a serious problem. It's not cute. He's a father, and he hasn't paid attention to his own son, played by Dylan Walsh. He actually cares more about his grandson, and this, sadly, is a common problem.
I ask you a question. Well, if you're not a father to me, how come you're a grandfather to Will?
Because you got to start someplace.
Trying to get Newman to grow up is his landlady and former teacher, played by the late, great Jessica Tandy.
Does it ever bother you that you haven't done more with the life God gave you?
Not often. Now and then.
Nobody's Fool, my video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. A split vote on The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. I thought he was hilarious, and Matthew Broderick a perfect foil. Roger was let down mightily by the film's downbeat third act. 2 thumbs down for Stealing Beauty, about an American teenager losing her virginity and transforming lives in a Tuscan villa. I liked it more than Roger, but not enough to recommend it. A split vote on Moll Flanders with Robin Wright. I thought she looked too old and too contemporary for the role in a badly directed, obvious movie. Roger, however, was won over by the gritty texture of the film. 2 thumbs down for Sergeant Kabukiman N.Y.P.D, a better title than a movie. And 2 thumbs down for Switchblade Sisters, the 1975 revival. Again, a better concept than execution. And finally, 2 thumbs up for Madame Butterfly, the great opera given a bright treatment in an Asian French production.
That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Eraser, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as a federal marshal assigned to give Vanessa Williams a new identity, and also the new animated Disney musical, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.